We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, entitled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, Text 16, 3.9.16, Srimad Bhagavatam. It's July 5th, 2026. So 3.9.16. Ya Vai Aham Cha Girisha Vibhu Svayam Cha Stiti Udbhava Pralaya Hetava Atmamulam Bitva Tripat Vavride Eka Uru Paroha Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Bhuvana Drumaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 16. Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Stit yud bhava pralaya hetava atmamulam.
Sthiti Bhava pralaya hetava atmamulam.
Bitva tripad vavrida eka uru prarohas.
Bitva tripad Vavadha eka uruparohas.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya.
Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Stit yud bhava pralaya hetava atmamulam.
Udbhava pralaya hitava atmamulam.
Bitva tripad vavrida eka uru prarohas.
Bitva tripad vidaha ika uru parohas.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya.
Tasmai bhagavate Vandumaya.
Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Stit yud bhava pralaya hetava atmamulam.
Sthiti upava pralaya hitava atmamulam.
Bitva tripad vavrida eka uru prarohas.
Bitva tripad vidaha ika uru parohas.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya. Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Sthiti udbhava pralaya hitava atmamulam.
Stit yud bhava pralaya hetava atmamulam.
Bitva tripad vridaha eka uru parohas.
Bitva tripad vavrida eka uru prarohas.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvani drumaya.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya. Would anyone online like to lead the chanting?
Yova aham cha girishascha vibhusvayam cha.
Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha.
Stityudbhava pralaya hetava atmamulam.
Stit yud bhava pralaya hetava atmamulam.
Bitva tripadva vrita eka uru prarohas.
Bitva tripad vavrida eka uru prarohas.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya.
Tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya. Hare Krishna. So we'll study the word meanings. Ya,
Ya,
one who.
one who.
By, certainly.
Certainly.
Ahamcha,
Ahamcha,
also I.
also I.
Girishacha,
Girishacha,
also Shiva.
also Shiva.
Vibhu,
Vibhu,
the Almighty.
the Almighty.
Svayam,
Svayam,
personality as Vishnu.
personally as Vishnu.
Cha,
Cha,
and
and
Stiti,
Stiti,
maintenance.
maintenance.
Udbhava,
Udbhava,
creation.
creation.
Pralaya,
Pralaya,
dissolution.
dissolution.
Hetava,
Hetava,
the causes.
the causes.
Atmamula,
Atma Mulam,
self-rooted.
self-rooted.
Vitva,
Vipa,
having penetrated.
having penetrated.
Tripad,
Tree pod,
three trunks.
three trunks.
Vavrita,
Vavrita,
grew.
grew.
Eka,
Eka,
one without a second.
one without a second.
Uru,
Uru,
many.
many.
Praroha,
Praroha,
branches.
branches.
Tasmai,
Tasmai,
unto him.
unto him.
Nama,
Nama,
obeisances.
obeisances.
Bhagavate,
Bhagavate,
unto the personality of Godhead.
unto the personality of Godhead.
Bhuvana Jumaya,
Bhuvana Drumaya,
unto the tree of the planetary system.
onto the tree of the planetary system.
Translation, this is Srimad Bhagavatam 3.9. 3.9.16. Your Lordship is the prime root of the tree of the planetary systems. This tree has grown by first penetrating the material nature in three trunks as me, Shiva, and you, the Almighty, for creation, maintenance, and dissolution. And we three have grown with many branches. Therefore I offer my obeisances unto you, the tree of the cosmic manifestation. Hare Krishna. This is Lord Brahma speaking to Vishnu or Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The cosmic manifestation is grossly divided into three worlds, the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems. And then it broadens into the cosmos of 14 planetary systems, with a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the supreme root. Material nature, which appears to be the cause of the cosmic manifestation, is only the agency or energy of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad-gita 9.10, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Srite Sachara. Quote, only under the superintendence of the Supreme Lord does material nature appear to be the cause of all creation, maintenance, and dissolution. The Lord expands himself into three, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, for maintenance, creation, and destruction, respectively. Of the three principal agents controlling the three modes of material nature, Vishnu is the Almighty. Even though he is within material nature for the purpose of maintenance, he is not controlled by the laws of material nature. The other two, Brahma and Shiva, although almost as greatly powerful as Vishnu, are within the control of the material energy of the Supreme Lord. The conception of many gods controlling the many departments of material nature is ill-conceived by the foolish pantheist. I'll read that again. The conception of many gods controlling the many departments of material nature is ill-conceived of by the foolish pantheist. God is one without a second, and he is the primeval, and he is the primal cause of all causes. As there are many departmental heads of governmental affairs, so there are many heads of management of the universal affairs. Due to a poor fund of knowledge, the impersonalist does not believe in the personal management of things as they are. But in this verse, it is clearly explained that everything is personal and nothing is impersonal. We have already discussed this point in the introduction, and it is confirmed here in this verse. The tree of the material manifestation is described in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad-gita as an Ashvata tree whose root is upward. We have actual experience of such a tree when we see the shadow of a tree on the bank of a reservoir of water. The reflection of the tree on the water appears to hang down from its upward roots. The tree of creation described here is only a shadow of the reality which is Parabrahman, Vishnu. In the internal potential manifestation of the Vaikuntha Lokas, the actual tree exists, and the tree reflected in the material nature is only the shadow of this actual tree. The impersonalist theory that Brahman is void of all variegatedness is false, because the shadow tree described in Bhagavad-gita cannot exist without being the reflection of a real tree. The real tree is situated in the eternal existence of spiritual nature, full of transcendental varieties, and Lord Vishnu is the root of that tree also. The root is the same, the Lord, both for the real tree and the false. But the false tree is only the perverted reflection of the real tree. The Lord, being the real tree, is here offered obeisances by Brahma on his own behalf, and also on behalf of Lord Shiva. We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 16. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakanaragnatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Badan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatu Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam 3.9.16 Yova aham chakirishas chavibu swayam cha stit yud bhava pralaya hetava atmamulam bitva tripad vavrida eka uru prarohas tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana drumaya. Lord Brahma speaking. Your lordship is the prime root of the Your lordship is the prime root of the tree of the planetary systems. This tree has grown by first penetrating the material nature in three trunks, as me, Shiva, and you, the Almighty, for creation, maintenance, and dissolution. And we three have grown with many branches. Therefore I offer my obeisances unto you, the tree of the cosmic manifestation. Hare Krishna. The first Bhagavad-gita has 4 seed verses, as does Srimad Bhagavatam. The first of the seed verses in Bhagavad-gita, chapter 10, text 8. Aham sarvasya pravo matasaram pravartate iti matvabhajate man buddha bhava samanvita. Krishna says, I'm the source of all spiritual and material energies, all spiritual and material worlds. And the wise who know this, they naturally serve me with love and devotion. There's a common saying, to know him is to love him, like that. So here in this verse in purport, Well, Srila Prabhupada's emphasizing in the purport that Vishnu, when we say Vishnu, that's Krishna. That's Krishna in a form that deals with the material energy with complete transcendence in lotus-like consciousness. Lotus, lotus is in the water. It grows from the mud, yet the lotus flower is untouched by the water. That lotus metaphor, the origin of that is Bhagavad-gita, chapter 5, lotus metaphor, symbolizing transcendence, means participating in the world and not disturbed by the disturbances, participating with compassionate, transcendental purposefulness. That's lotus-like consciousness. So, yeah, okay, so Krishna's like, he's enjoying with the cowherd boys and the gopis and Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj and Goloka Vrindavan. So he's not directly getting involved with material energy and that management. And he does that in his form, in his Vishnu forms. Vishnu forms, they're Krishna, and they've direct, that's how he manages the material energy. And so Vishnu's the root. That's what's described here. Vishnu's the root of the material energy. That's the Srila Prabhupada is bringing in that brilliant metaphor from Krishna from the 15th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, the banyan tree, the banyan tree. And so, so the reflection, that's the material energy, and the real tree, that's the spiritual energy. So Krishna, well, the very beginning of Brahma Samhita happened right here with me. I have a Brahma Samhita. So, very beginning of Brahma Samhita, first verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigra Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the source of everything, the original personality of Godhead. I'll read the exact translation. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. And that's very similar to the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadyasa Yaton Vayadi Tiratash Chartesh Vabhikeshu Svarat. O my Lord Sri Krishna, personality of Godhead, son of Vasudeva, offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material universes. Okay. So establishing Krishna as the source of all energies, and Krishna says that when one knows this, then naturally they serve me with love. Then naturally they serve me with love. So that's the purpose of everything in Bhakti Yoga, including our study. And like this verse gets into some details about creation, specifically Brahma and Shiva. And like yesterday, we led class in discussion, and we chose a Bhagavad-gita verse 13.23 to speak on. It's a verse that speaks a lot about independence. And so in the USA, it was a special day. It was not just July 4th, Independence Day, but 250th anniversary of the formation of the country, declaring independence from Great Britain and things like that. And so I'm not going to go into that again, but just the principle is there. The idea is like, okay, one loves the country, one loves the king and queen. Oh, so naturally, okay, how's the country formed? Those founders of the nation, how did they set up the government system and the socioeconomic and political thing, and what are the branches of the government? So it's natural, like one who's, if not love, at least interested in the country. And I could see on the internet, there was like, in recent months. There was an increase of like information and articles and videos about USA, because that's what I did. Like, so here, this series of verses spoken by Lord Brahma, it's just like, yeah, how does Krishna set things up? How does he run things? How does he manage things? And so a reason that we cultivate such detailed knowledge as described here, well, the main reason is ultimately to deepen our love for Krishna. This verse talks about Brahma and Shiva, and we want to understand everything in their right place, in connection with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada had this sentence in the purport. The conception of many gods controlling the many departments of material nature is ill conceived of by the foolish pantheists. The idea is just like, yeah, well, there's Indra and Brahma and Shiva, and there's Krishna and Vishnu. So it's like all these gods fighting each other for who's like the biggest god. So that's like kind of a common misconception. It's kind of a common, no, this Bhagavatam, it's monotheistic. Monotheistic. Itecha. Eklayeshvara Krishna Arasabhabricha. But it's understood because one can read certain parts of Vedas and Mahabharata and think, oh yeah, it's like the gods fighting for who's the supreme. But no, actually, they're all servants. They're all servants of Krishna. Abhinav, you had a comment? I see your hands up.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Vijay, sorry to interrupt. Like, this has been a burning question for me. No, I completely agree. Like, there is just one God. And I think everything, is all everything else is his energies, and like, and they're like, or like, just like we have different officers in a government, so we have like different, like gods, like for different departments. And of course Shiva is like a special case, is like
Yeah.
a yogurt. Just like if Krishna is milk, like Shiva is like yogurt, so I think he's got a special position. I understand all of that, but then there are also like, some, like, people see, like, Supreme Personality of Godhead in also different lens. Like, some people say, like, Shakti is the supreme. Some people say like Ganesh is supreme. Some people say like Kumaraswamy is supreme. Like, some people say Shiva is supreme. So people kind of visualize the same Parabrahma, like same Paramatma, in different forms. Um, like, is that okay? Is that something, ISKCON accepts, or it's something like, against, like what is written in like Bhagavatam? Like, because like here we have like, Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna is like, where the Supreme Personality is seen as Krishna, but then there is also Devi Bhagavatam, where like the Supreme Personality of Godhead is seen as Shakti. So I'm just a little confused on that aspect of it. Like, can a Parabrahma seen in like be seen in like different aspects? Because if, like, the thing is, if there is one, like, if I can be like become like a father, like, if I can work as something else, like a worker, and then like as a son, so why can't like Paramatma be seen in like different forms? So that's my question.
Thank you, Abhinav. Thanks for
Yes.
your question, and I appreciate your reference to Bhagavatam as the authority to understand these things. I expect we'll address your question. I expect we'll address your question, and so at least we'll give some principles based on Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada. I know Bhagavatam, I know Vedas, I know whatever I know from Srila Prabhupada. He's my current link to the Parampara. So, and that I'll say that Yeah, I'm not necessarily representing any institution or organization. You mentioned ISKCON, so I'm not necessarily representing any ISKCON or any organization. I mean, maybe what I say, some who identify with that organization will agree with or not agree with. I do endeavor that whatever I speak, that I'm authentically in a fully authorized way, representing Srila Prabhupada. And so I'll give some principles. So thanks very much for that prompt, and we'll address where we're going with that. We'll address the doors you open with that question, because it relates. Yeah, so it relates to and I appreciate it. You mentioned Devi and the Devi Bhagavatam, and you mentioned Ganesh, and so so. So we endeavor to understand everything as in its context according to authorized shastra, just like we referenced Brahma Samhita earlier. So Brahma Samhita, it talks about Ganesh. Yat pad padaba yugam vinidaya kumbhadvandve pranaya samaye saganadi raja Vignan vihantu malamasya jagattrayasya govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. There's about so many of these demigods like Ganesh. Brahma Samhita talks about their form and function essentially in service to Krishna, Ekaleeshvara Krishna, Arasabha Bricha, that even Lord Balaram and even Shiva and Brahma, they're ultimately servants of Krishna. This is not according to David Wolf or Dhira Govinda Das. This is according to Srila Prabhupada, who's authentically representing the Vedic conclusion. Brahma Samhita talks about Devi, Durga, Kali, Swishti, Stiti, Pralaya, Sadhana, Shakti, Reka, Chayeva, Yasya, Bhuvanani, Bibharti, Durga, Ichanurupamapi yasya chachestatesa govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Again, that she takes care of the material energy and the conditioned soul. She's like the warden of the Durga. One of her names is Durga, prison house, the fortress of material. She's doing it all for the pleasure of Govinda, her Lord Govinda. Similarly, this verse speaks about Lord Shiva. This verse speaks about Lord Shiva. Brahma Samhita describes. You mentioned yogurt. Thanks for mentioning yogurt. Perfect. So Lord Shiva is compared to yogurt. This is true. Right. So we want to understand these principles. Just like, and that's okay. So yogurt is dadi, kshiram yata dadi vikara vishesha yoga. Sanjayatena hitata pritagasti hetu yasambutam apitata samupeti karyat govindamadi pusham tamaham bhajami. So she was like yogurt and milk. So in that analogy, Vishnu or Krishna is milk. Yogurt and milk, they're the same. They're made of the same stuff. Yogurt and milk is the same, but they're not exactly the same. We're not able to use yogurt in the same way that we use milk. And once milk, through some lemon juice or something like that, once milk has become transformed into yogurt, and you can't transform it back. But so this gets into a chinchya beta beta tattva. A chinchya beta beta tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference, and so if we get into, there's 7 categories of incarnations and many more types of expansions, and so we're giving some principles. Shiva is like yogurt. As far as okay, so in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to grasp all of the nuances and subtleties of the science of incarnations, the 7 categories. That's probably not going to happen in 15 minutes. At the same time, we can, it's just, I find it fulfilling just to advance our knowledge in whatever way. So Shiva, he's Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. They're called guna avatars. Guna avatars. They're avatars empowered by Krishna, by one of his modes of nature. Brahma, Rajas, Shiva, Tamas, Vishnu, Sattva. So that's one type of incarnation, guna avatar. And just to complicate things, these types of avatars, they're not mutually exclusive, because sometimes we'll hear, well, it says Vishnu is a Purusha avatar, which is another category. It means we can see the English word person from the Sanskrit Purusha. And so Vishnu is both a Purusha avatar and a Guna avatar. They're not mutually exclusive. Okay, and so Shiva's compared to yogurt, simultaneously one and different. Brahma is described in Brahma Samhita. Pasvanyatashma sakaleshu nijeshu tejas yam kiyat prakatayat yapi tadvadatra brahmaya esha jagadanda vidanakarta govindamadi pusham tamaham bhajami. I'll read the translation of that one. Okay. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion Brahma receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear the names of Surya, Kanta, etc. So Brahma is a Gunavatar. And again, there's complexities here. Just like if we're studying whatever, if we're studying world history or physics, okay, I'll get it all in 15 minutes. Probably not. And probably no, it's quite a study. And myself, a main pillar of my attempts to practice bhakti yoga is just to read all of Prabhupada's books again and again. And whether it's focusing on pastime or philosophy or history, I just relish that association, that vibration. And so, yes, so so the Brahma in our universe, this is some important principles again, is a pure devotee of Krishna. But that's not true of the Brahman. So Brahma is not the name of a person. Brahma is the name of a post. Just like the name of a post, president, or prime minister, or king or queen. Okay, but then who's ever occupying the post has a name. Who's ever occupying the post has a name. It could be like, the name of the king is George, or like that. Okay, so Brahma is the name of a post, and similarly with many of the demigods, there's the post. Okay, and then there's the person occupying it. Surya is the name of the sun god, and Krishna talks about the sun god named Vivasvan. Okay, in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad-gita. All right, so every universe has the post of Brahma, and the post is always filled by a let's call it highly elevated, high consciousness living entity, but not necessarily a pure devotee of Krishna. Some Brahmas are devotees, but devotion mixed with jnana, or devotion mixed with karma. In some universes, it gets complex. In some universes, there's no jiva to appropriately take the service of Brahma, so Krishna himself will take the service of Brahma. Okay, not like that. So that's what with like Brahma or Shiva. Sometimes we hear about them in their capacity as pure devotees. It's described about Lord Shiva. Vaishnavanam yata sambhu. He's the greatest Vaishnav, the greatest servant of Krishna and Vishnu. And sometimes, and Brahma, he's the head of our sampradaya. Tene Brahma Rida Yadi Kave Muyanti At Saraya. Krishna gave all the Vedas through the sound vibration of his flute into the heart of Brahma. Then Brahma, that was his inspiration to do a service of creating the material universe, including our bodies, all the material elements. And then sometimes we hear about Brahma and Shiva and other demigods in their capacity as demigods, and then it looks like, oh, they get confused sometimes and bewildered. So sometimes, as some comparison, we can see, like, for example, in the first chapter of Bhagavad-gita, we have sometimes Srila Prabhupada, he's just appreciating Arjuna so much, Arjuna's compassion, and Prabhupada will emphasize, and that's because he's a soft-hearted devotee, so he doesn't want a political kingdom. He's a soft-hearted devotee who just wants kindness and peace. And then sometimes in Prabhupada's purports, there's Arjuna as the conditioned soul, representing us in the pastime. And like, okay, he's compassionate, but it's sentimental. He's lost track of who he is as a servant of Krishna. So different perspectives, as Abhinav indicated earlier. We can relate to absolute truth in different perspectives. So there's Arjuna playing the role of a conditioned soul, and there's Arjuna as a pure devotee. And keeping in mind, again, the ultimate purpose, well, in Bhakti Yoga, the journey is the goal. And so by studying Bhagavatam, it's towards the goal of developing enthusiasm, love for Krishna, enthusiasm to serve Krishna. And by studying Bhagavatam, we are serving Krishna. And so it's the goal, and it's the process to achieve the goal. That's Bhakti Yoga, very beautiful. I'm reminded, because I was just reading in a transcribed lecture from Srila Prabhupada yesterday. So it comes to me, but it's a story Srila Prabhupada references a lot from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya's travels in South India. And there's a Brahmin, so he's a Brahmin, but he's illiterate. He never got educated. He never got educated. And his spiritual master, his guru, I just said, Guru More Morkadeki Kailasha Sana, that in front of one's spiritual master, one should see oneself as a fool and ready to take instruction and be chastised. And like, so his guru said, yes, so for your service, I want every day you read all 18 chapters of Bhagavad-gita. Okay. So again, so one could because well, that doesn't make any sense. It's like it's a foolish instruction. Like, there's so many services you can do, but he's illiterate, so many services do without like needing to read. Okay, so this illiterate Brahmin, so he has Bhagavad Gita, and he's sitting there, at the village, and he's trying to read, but he can't because he's illiterate. And so the townsfolk, they're mocking him. You don't even know how to read. What are you doing? They're mocking him. Okay, but he's like, well, my spiritual master said to read 18 chapters every day. I'm trying. So they're just laughing. They're ridiculing him. So Lord Chaitanya comes along. And he sees the scene. They're mocking like that. And he goes and he's like, Lord Chaitanya, of course, without a mocking mood, Lord Chaitanya is like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he says, well, yeah, my guru said to read the 18th chapter of Bhagavad-gita every day, so I'm trying. The thing is, I never learned how to read. I'm illiterate. And so Lord Chaitanya is, of course, immediately moved that such trust in the instructions of his guru. But then Lord Chaitanya says, well, okay, I understand that you don't know how to read, but then I notice you're crying. I notice you're crying. So, yeah, so why are you crying? You don't even, you're not reading the words. Why are you crying? He said, and so the illiterate Brahmin said, well, yeah, it's true. I can't read any of the words, but just on the cover, uh, yes, mm. On the cover, I see here's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. He's the all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's driving the chariot for his friend Arjuna. He's driving the chariot so humbly out of love for his friend. And so I'm just looking at that picture and just picturing that scene and imagining it. Krishna Arjuna on the chariot, and Krishna, his dear friend Arjuna, and he's driving his chariot. And I'm just moved to tears. And tears are just overflowing. And Lord Chaitanya, he says, you are the real knower of Bhagavad-gita. You are the learned scholar of Bhagavad-gita. So Lord Chaitanya appreciated that that's the goal, to come to such loving appreciation, loving service, to be moved to tears by Krishna and Arjuna. I said, you are the knower of Bhagavad-gita. So that's our purpose here. That's our purpose in this study. And as Prabhupada sometimes says, if one's loving Krishna, like that illiterate Brahmin, then in a sense, oh yes, then there's no particular reason for all this detailed study. At the same time, such a devotee will naturally, with enthusiasm, just want to hear everything from Krishna and about Krishna. From Krishna, that's mostly Bhagavad Gita, and about Krishna, that's mostly Bhagavatam, like that. Yes. So, yes, so there are, so this, and we've used this analogy in different places. So the illiterate Brahmin in South India, the real knower of Bhagavad Gita. And so, I know a few weeks ago or months ago, we used this analogy. Yeah, just like it could be seen, oh, this is like some sort of mythology or something, Brahma, Shiva. And we said, just like we have the light bulb here in the room, 75 watts. Where did it come from? Did it just magically appear? Did it just magically appear? It didn't just magically appear. There's a team of engineers, and there's the director of the electric company, and there's a lot of intelligence behind 75 watts. So the sun is whatever, 75 trillion watts. So it makes sense that there's a person with much more intelligence than the intelligence behind the 75 watts. So that's called the sun god. It's actually rational. It's not primitive childish mythology. It's actually rational. So, yes. So sure, there's different perspectives. So there's oneness in that regard. And at the same time, like if it's yoga, dharma, demigods, devas, goddesses, and gods, okay, well, it all comes from the Vedas. So we're encouraged to see the oneness and variety simultaneously on the basis through the pure lenses of the Siddhanta, the Vedic conclusion. So sure, there's Devi Bhagavatam, and we just quoted a verse. And Devi, we just quoted that verse. So Devi, the external potency Devi, Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. So Durga, Devi, Kali, she's doing what she's doing in service to Krishna. So sure, we can appreciate and revere Devi and Shiva and Brahma, and to do that, so for sure, not to disrespect any of those exalted demigods, and to appreciate them in their capacity as dedicating themselves 100% in service to Krishna. So that's like oneness. Yeah, they're all in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Ete Chantakla Pumsa, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Svaya, Injari, Vyakalam Lokam, Vidyanti Yuge Yuge. So many incarnations and expansions, 7 categories of incarnations, and it gets really complex. And Krishna is the incarnate. He's the one who incarnates. Let me just read this. Okay, and I was reading Abhinav's comment. There are competing sampradayas out there which see the same Param Brahma as Devi, Ganesh, or Shivaji as we see Krishna's Supreme Person. It's impossible to follow all sampradayas. So I'm happy to follow the process laid out by Srila Prabhupada Jai, but at the same time be completely respectful to other sampradayas too. I'll catch up with you offline to learn more on this topic. Thank you, Abhinav. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada, and I'm glad to hear from you offline. I'm responsive by email. Don't try to text me. I don't do texting, but I'm responsive by email. Thanks for that. Yeah, the Srila Prabhupada so often says, there's 4 sampradayas, each with branches, and so so we're so with respect, just like respect to the demigods, respect to the legitimate sampradayas, then there's so much going on in the name of Vaishnavism that's not through an authorized sampradaya. It's just something. It's some cheap sham in the name of Vaishnavism, like that. So we want to be cautious of that. And Srila Prabhupada gives us knowledge, and yeah. So Prabhupada speaks significantly about other sampradayas, and at the same time, for the most part, pretty much what I know about other sampradayas, Ramanuja Sampradaya, Nimbarka Swami Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami, I know through Srila Prabhupada. Right at the beginning of the introduction of Bhagavad-gita, Prabhupada's extensively quoting Ramanujacharya. He's not in our Sampradaya. At the same time, Prabhupada appreciates his Siddhanta, his scholarship, so full respect, and at the same time, for me that relates to the current link principle, that whatever I read from any Sampradaya, or if I'm reading something about personal transformation or American history or whatever, I endeavor to see it and realize it through my current link to the Vedas, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada. And even yesterday, we referenced some USA history and Adam Smith and things like that, and we endeavor to see wherever I go, whatever I read, whatever I hear, I'm endeavoring to realize it, process it, and share it in alignment with Srila Prabhupada, my current link to the Vedas, and to Bhakti Siddhanta. And Srila Prabhupada's in line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and coming through Vyasadeva like that. So and that way I'm clear. So I'm going to read this verse again, then I'm glad to hear any further questions or comments. Yova aham cha girishas cha vibhu svayam cha stit yud bhavam pralaya hetava atmamulam pitva tripad vavrita eka uru prarohas tasmai namo bhagavate bhuvana jumaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 16. Your Lordship is the prime root of the tree of the planetary systems. This tree has grown by first penetrating the material nature in three trunks, as me, Shiva, and you, the Almighty, for creation, maintenance, and dissolution, and we three have grown with many branches. Therefore I offer my obeisances unto you, the tree of the cosmic manifestation. Jagannath and Denishta, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good to be with you. So first, I think I heard that Abhi and his wife had a baby recently. Is that right? And if so,
That's true. Yes.
I want to say congratulations to you and to them. And I'm so excited about having a new little devotee born into our community. And I can't wait to hear more and learn more about their little precious one. And that is so exciting for me. So I didn't know that was happening. And I just feel really blessed that that's occurring. So congratulations to you and to them. Very exciting. And then also I wanted to say, okay, so last night I had this wild dream. Yeah. It just feel like I'm so glad that we had this class today. Okay, so we were all together in true Sabato fashion. You were leading this experiential process, and we were all writing our names on these rocks, these like smooth river stones. And some of us got to use certain pens, some of us got to use certain colors, and it was all based on our qualifications in this lifetime, who got to use what material for, writing on, and the colors and the things that went along with it. And so after we decorated our rocks with our names and all of our distinctions and things that, were relevant to us in this lifetime, we all put them in this pan, like this shallow pan with like a rim side. And some people's got different things applied to them based on, again, like qualifications. Like some got lemon juice and some got vinegar and some, different things added to them. Like some of them had coatings, like oily coatings. And then water was added into the pan. And we sat there and we noticed that the names, the things we had written on these rocks, started lifting off of the rocks. And Prabhupada was there and he was explaining that the water in this experiment was representing time, and how with time, eventually all of the names come off. And some people were angry, like really angry. And some people were like excited, and some people were confused, and some people were like, oh yeah, I knew exactly, since we started like writing our names on the rocks, what this process was going to be. Some people were just like in on it. They got it from the minute that it happened. And so it got me thinking, okay, I woke up clear that we are not our names. Like that makes sense, right? We talk about that a lot. But what is interesting in this conversation is some things about names that I've been thinking about since I woke up. Like, okay, we do have names. And like, in some sense, like if I'm around other people who are clued in on the process of what we're doing here, and I don't know someone's name, I do know their name. They're servant, right? Servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And, in honoring in true Srila Prabhupada fashion, we always give people honorifics, like so much great respect, because we always want to like glorify the servant of the servant. Like that's the process, to be all obeisances. And so that makes sense to me, like why we do that quintessentially. That's clear. I like that part. The part that confuses me is, okay, my new designation in this lifetime. So formerly Danielle, now Denishta Devi Dasi. And I know that means servant of Denishta Devi, which I've learned some about her. But is the Devi the same Devi that we're talking about with Kali? And how do I relate? How does one relate with their Vaishnav name as servant? And why are we not just, I know that it would be, we're already far out and strange, right? And so if everyone was just named like Devi Dasi, and like everyone would be like, you guys are really a cult. Like really, like everyone has the same name now. Like you're like Devi Dasi number 1, you're Devi Dasi number 2, or you're like Das 375, like, and then it would get really lost in the weeds. So I know that we have to like take on like some honorific so that everyone can just relate to us practically. But why are these unique designations given to us? Like, why am I not like something else? Why are you not something else? Like, where does it come from? Like, what is the process of relating to these personalities? Like when I gave Sarasvati her name, it's hard naming people. I'm sure you're aware. I wanted her to, there was this like beautiful painting that Annapurna did. And when I saw it, it was like a lightning bolt in my heart. I was like, I want her to look at this painting every day and embody these qualities of devotion, of excellence, of mastery, of love. I want her to be looking down, like this painting above her, looking down at her. And I want this to like just crystallize in her heart that she will like embody these things. So like, that was my process. I don't know what other people's processes are, but Hare Krishna, that's my question. Sorry, it was a little rambly.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Dinesh Devi Dasi. Your dream description made an impact on me. Thanks for sharing that. And I mean, well, one thing, generally dreams are nonsense. I mean, they're just yeah, I know there's a whole dream analysis, but generally they're nonsense. And generally it's just like, we got all sorts of karma from many lifetimes in this lifetime, and consciously we block, what comes up, much of it. But then a lot of stuff just like, from the bottom of the lake of karma, it just bubbles up and comes out in dreams. And it's just something with, the sojourn in material universe, and it's generally nonsense. And okay. But you have Srila Prabhupada appearing in your dream and exchanging with Srila Prabhupada. So that's substantial. That's substantial. So I'm impacted. Thanks for describing that. Yeah, thanks for describing that. And then somehow when you describe the I don't want to get too much into interpretation of dreams, but just like Prabhupada's appearing and exchanging, I mean, that we don't need to interpret that. That's transcendently auspicious, So thanks for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and then okay, as far as the rocks, I mean in the stream, that reminds me of Shalagram Shila, which is Shalagram Shila, it's forms of Krishna. There's Shalagram Shila forms of Nrsingadev. It's rather an elevated, sophisticated form of deity worship, and I'm not even qualified for the more rudimentary forms, but it's there. But Prabhupada talks about Shalagram worship and the Godavari River. So just that came to me. That image came to me, and and just what you shared about the Prabhupada-centered community, Safetov participants. I mean, just it touched my heart. It made a samskar in me. Thanks for sharing. As far as names, as far as names, well, it's kind of like the basic principle is like these Vaishnava initiated names. They're prompts to support us to remember who we are beyond the world of names. That in the second canto of Bhagavatam, that term is used in the text, the world of names. Like I'm this, I'm the director, I'm Mr. Dinner, I'm Dr. Dinner, and this is we've got the plaque and we've got the letters next to our names, and we have and I'm European, I'm American, I'm white, I'm black. It's all the world of names. It's all the world of names, and it's all superficial and ephemeral, and it'll all be crushed by time, like that. Okay, and then beyond the world of names, there's our eternal identity. And so all the names, Anandini Devi Dasi, Jagannath Das, Dhira Govinda Das, Arjuna Das, all the names essentially mean servant of Krishna and servant of the devotee of Krishna, servant of Srimati Radharani, servant of Srila Prabhupada. So that's the meaning of all the names. That's the essential meaning.
and then yeah, and then so that's the essential meaning, to remind us who we are beyond the world of names, and to yeah. So like you, since April 11th, you've looked up Dinesh Devi Dasi, so that's a special gopi personality. So then it's like absorbing. Now, like let's say, so my name, from biological birth, David, David. So that's a spiritual name. David means one who's beloved of God. So that's a spiritual name, like that. And if we trace back so many of the names, from the Judeo-Christian tradition, and also Islamic tradition. At the same time, so David, it is like and King David is a great servant of God from the Bible. That's my namesake. So it's not that it's not spiritual. At the same time, when I think of David, I can think of, the neighborhood I grew up in, and playing street hockey with Stephen Moldover, and I went to Northeast High School, and that won't take me back to Godhead. Whereas Dhira Govinda Das, I'm just more likely, Krishna, Govinda, who's transcendental and material energy, and with the cowherd boys. So it's a prompt. It's a remembrance. Of course, we we might use in different, depending on our service, we might use sometimes our Western name or devotee name, depending on our service, like that. And then, yeah, in some ways, all our names are interchangeable, because they all mean we're all servants of Krishna. I'm an aspiring servant of the Lord of the Universe, Jagannath. I'm an aspiring servant of the Gopi Dinishta. I'm an aspiring servant of Krishna. Has a special form of flute called Anandini. Krishna has like many, many, many types of flutes, and they're described. And one of them, this is very confidential, is called Anandini. Is also a name of Srimati Radharani. There's different names. So in one sense, our names are interchangeable. And whatever. So like if we get it, what's the meaning of Dhira Govinda? What's the meaning of Dinishta? Who is she? That's just absolutely auspicious and purifying. And whether that means that, like, as far as like the spirit soul in the body, called Danielle or called Dinishta Devi Dasi, that like, yeah, your eternal form in Goloka Vrindavan is as a servant of the confidential Gopi Dinishta. That I don't know. That I don't know. I do know you absorb yourself in Dinishta. I absorb myself in Krishna as Dhira Govinda. That's auspicious for our path of purification and coming towards realization of our eternal identity as loving servants of Krishna, in the line of the illiterate Brahman trying to read Bhagavad-gita, failing, and completely succeeding because he's in tears. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear Govinda, David. I love that. And I love thinking about how many people are named. I see them all the time. I'm like, you're named after a devotee of God. I'm like, your name is devotee of God. I'm like, because, I'm struggling right through the weeds of transition because I want to be Denisha Devidasi full time. And people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, it's just a new way of, saying Danielle. That's all. I'm like, you can call me Donnie if it's easier. And so they're going through the process of grieving, what is commonly, what is easy, what is, the way that they've experienced me. And so it's been on my mind a lot about the nomenclature of things, like why do we name things the way they are? So my other thing, one other thing that it came up to me during this is Devi. Like, is that the Devi that is Durga? Like, Devi Dasi is like a lot more than just Das. Because like two words versus one, and why.
Okay, great. Devi, yeah, I'm not seeing it as the same as Durga. I'm seeing that the Devi is it's yeah, It is more than das. And sometimes Devi Dasi is abbreviated as Dasi. Sometimes it's done that. But I'm saying it's simply it's a term that invokes divinity in the service. Just like we can see the English word divinity. Probably the name David comes from the Sanskrit deva or Devi, so the English word divinity. So it invokes soft, sweet, powerful divinity in the dasi, in the service. That's my understanding.
Okay, I like that a lot because women, I think in general, at least in my experience living my lifetime, are often viewed as kind of servant like in a lot of ways. And so having that additional like qualifier of not to just anyone, like usually, like parent, mother, child, husband, wife relationships, even like elder parents, women tend to be in a lot of caregiving roles. So this is like particular servant. It's like divine service. And I like that it's added there to be clear about what type of service I'm undertaking. That's very helpful. Thank you so much, Dhira Govinda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Danishta, Devi Dasi. I appreciate your expression there. Yeah, because in the material conception, servant is something lower about it, immaterial, something humiliating about it, because I want to be master, not servant. That's material conception. And there's something to be minimized. You're just a servant. This is divine. This is divine. This is powerful. Thank you, Danishta. Hare Krishna. Anandini.
Hare Krishna. I appreciate this this conversation about names.
Yeah.
And it's something I've, so I think the name that we're not all just called servant is because we have a personal relationship with Krishna, and we are all distinct individuals, and the relationship is very personal, and I find that there's so many other names. Like I was a primary school teacher for 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
And it was part of, I identified to a certain degree to that role and name. And then one day I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So, but still, and there's so many, almost anything in my life. One day it will be over. I will not be that personality anymore, or that role, and so to have a spiritual name, I find is like giving an orientation and then like eternal, I don't know, direction of identification, which is not going to disappear. It's not that that when life goes on and the kids leave home, I'm no longer the mother taking care of the children at home, then I'm not going to end with nothing. I'm not going to disappear. Actually, there's more and more of the eternal personality that will come through. And for me, the spiritual name is like a reminder of that, like an anchor of I am someone, like I exist, and in a personal relationship with Krishna. So I wanted to add that.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for adding it. Thanks for adding it. Yes, right. Because we have names about our relationships. I'm the father of Abhi and Sita. And when I talked to Abhi last Thursday, he called me. I was in Austin, and I never have my cell phone on, but I turned it on just to check messages. And just as I turned it on, Abhi called. So it's clearly higher arrangement. Like I never have it on, and it was on. He called because I'm not at my landline because I was not at home, and Abhi shared with me the good news, and apparently mother and baby are healthy. And then Abhi asked me, so Dad, yeah, what do you want to be called in your role? Grandfather or like that? And Abhi asked me that like 5 months ago. And I said, I'll think about it. And I couldn't use I'll think about it because I already used I'll think about it. So he said, well, that was 5 months ago. So what do you want? So I chose the name Saba. Saba is grandfather in Hebrew. And like that. So we have so many names related to our activities, our relationships, and they'll all be devoured by the snake of time. And then Anandini Devi Dasa, that's like an eternal ground and root and anchor. You're a servant of Srimati Radharani. I hope Anandini Devi Dasi, I hope I did not violate any confidentiality by sharing the other meaning of Anandini about a special flute of Krishna. But anyhow, it came out. So yeah, that's who you are eternally. That's who you are eternally. You're a servant of Srimati Radharani. You're a servant of Srila Prabhupada. You're a servant of Krishna. And that name roots you in that as the fluctuations of material energy and your little baby toddler girls are now teenagers, and soon they'll be autonomous adults, and that's all going to change.
Yeah, and the question remains like, who am I? For me, it's not who am I, Anandini Devi Dasi. Well, what does that mean?
Does that mean? Yeah.
It's to be discovered.
To be revealed as we continue to serve with some sincerity.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
All
I
right.
like your new title, Saba.
Saba. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Rasamrita.
Hare Krishna. So this question came to me the other day, and it's coming up again, so I'm going to voice it. I've heard you use a quote by whom I don't remember, but that a good person doesn't have to be known. And I've always had issue with that quote.
Well, there's a quote from Tolstoy. I sometimes reference that you're a truly good person if you don't need to be understood, something like that. Yeah.
So, with the example that you gave us today about like Shiva and Brahma and post, kind of like the government, right? So you have maybe your policeman, you have your governor, and so imagine as a citizen, you say, "Oh well, I'm not satisfied with your service. I want to speak to."
Your supervisor.
Your supervisor.
The supervisor of your supervisor. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, there's a quality of that can be disrespectful to the person who's serving, right? So to respect these personalities, to respect Shiva, to respect in their service and what they're doing. And that's not my question. My question more has to do with like, our goal is the process of developing a loving devotional relationship to Krishna.
Yeah.
And in that process of approaching that, how do I be respectful in that I'm not like, yeah, I want to talk to your supervisor, because that's a mood.
How do you be respectful to who? To demigods?
To Krishna.
Oh, to Krishna. Okay.
In approaching.
I see. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
If you've seen that interaction either in person or if you've been that person, right, there is that like, well, like, who are you to ask to talk to the supervisor? And then it's also kind of like, well, who are you to try to develop that relationship with the highest? But when I asked that question of myself the other day, the answer that came to me is that God isn't subject to the material contamination or the human context.
Correct.
So he's not limited. So, for example, if I want to just, Sylvan, I see you, right? So I'm thinking about our emails, and I'm thinking like, to the extent that I want to just share a bunch of information with a person, that person's limited. They have their priorities, they have their responsibilities, they have the things that they need to do. But Krishna, the same that he could please 1,600 wives, 1,000 wives, whatever.
16,108.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's unlimited. And so to the extent that we are just sharing openly, vulnerably, with love, with Krishna, no matter what it is, I feel like he's available. And then the question is that respectful?
I'm not so clear what your question is.
Yeah. It wouldn't be respectful of an individual to treat a person that way, right? Because a human is limited.
Yeah.
And God isn't. So is that a good way to go about creating a relationship?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, well, whatever's in our heart, we're just like the sharing, Anandini sharing, Denisha sharing is about personal relationship. So whatever's in our heart, we're encouraged to share with Krishna. And then as far as it's respectful, not respectful, that will depend on our mood. And that will depend on our mood and the consciousness behind the sharing. And yeah, and our relationship. And that, that gets into a lot with like Srila Prabhupada, and that's why we approach Krishna through our current link. It's one and different. So we are, like if I'm chanting Hare Krishna, but like if someone has like Krishna, I'm really angry at you for this, and it could be very personal and very sweet. At the same time, it could be in a way that's offensive and alienates me from Krishna. So Krishna kind of like, we're encouraged to approach Krishna through our current link to the Parampara and cultivate personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada, cultivate relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And we've used it's not this or that. We've used the analogy, the eyeglasses, right? The eyeglasses enhance my direct relationship with the print. And at the same time, it could be said they're between my eyes and the print. That's Srila Prabhupada, our current link to the Parampara. So yeah, share everything with Krishna that purifies whatever's in our heart, whether it's material, spiritual, and to endeavor to do it with at least a respectful, if not loving mood. But sure, like we got anger in our heart, we got envy, we got confusion, we got jealousy. Sure, let's offer it to Krishna, and then we get purification.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Rasamrita. Any other comments, questions, or realizations at this time? Thanks for giving your attention to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.